this again. Hello, Mr. President. I'm sending you this message because it's time. Because about 6 years ago, I quit my job at Nordstrom. I've been a guest in your country for about 13 years now. I quit my job because I could see the economic depression happening. I've studied the economy now for 25 years since leaving Sheffield University, doing a business degree in French. And I want to thank you because it's been a great 13 years in this country. It's an amazing country. I'm so thankful for the freedoms and really the vitality of this country, and such amazing people, so hardworking and so generous. And I'm speaking to you now from my new home in the Ozarks. I've had this piece of 10 acres for the last 2 years, and we finally got a trailer put on it and a well dug. And as you can see, we recently had our first son. We have an 8-year-old daughter too, and and the point I'm getting around to is that, you know, at some point I'd like to become a citizen, and also I feel that I could help you, meaning that I'm looking for work, but this idea came to me about 5 years ago to create a business which helps people start their own business, and it's turned into just so much more than that. You know, initially I thought it was like a crowdfunding platform, but we're using real shares, and so it's more of an equity crowdfunding, but it's also an equity rewards mechanism. It's also a fiduciary, or, you know, trust mechanism for if a group of people want to start a business, they, you know, can divide the shares amongst them. And it's equity rewards because it gives wealth or equity to the customers that first buy that product. So it's not like the traditional method where you have to sell a product at a really high price in order to recoup your research and development costs. You're really giving away equity to those very first early adopters that buy into your product or service. That being said, I'm at the point where I need to, you know, I need some help with it, and I need to give it away. In fact, okay, all right. I've had, you know, I've done a lot of research into who I could give it to. You know, a charitable foundation, some, you know, MacArthur Foundation, or people like this. But as my attorney Lyndall Beard, who helped me create the mechanism, said, this could make someone very rich, and I don't need to be rich. In fact, I don't want to be rich because I've already been blessed. I have a incredibly successful father who's actually flying into the country today to see his grandson, and he's a very successful dairy farmer, raised a pedigree herd, and I mean, it's almost from that example of wealth generation that I realize that what happens often is that wealth is created, but you know, only a few get to benefit or get to inherit that wealth, whereas the people that work towards creating that wealth often get left out. You know, granted, they get paid a wage while they're working for that company, but once the company gets sold or bought out, and the company, you know, gets shipped to Mexico, for example, like has happened here in West Plains with Imlesys, those people are left high and dry, and you know, it's left to yourselves and the government to try and find them new jobs. And the more that manufacturing disappears, you know, the more that you know, a source of wealth creation is taken away from the country. And that's what happened to England, you know, 30 years ago. And I don't want to see that happen to America. I think it's time, you know, you always say, you know, there's nothing more powerful than an idea that whose time has come, and this is that idea for 2015 and beyond, because I look at your presidency and I really think you've done a great job despite your critics. You know, sometimes I think that you've tried to take on, you know, huge ideas, and you know they may benefit a lot of people, but they also, you know, piss a lot of other people off. But I know that you're an enlightened person, because I see the way you speak with balance, you know, in between the pros and cons. And in fact, I think if there were more than just two political parties, I think you would have run as an independent. Um, Having said that, I really hope that the independence movement gains some traction in these these upcoming elections next week. Certainly, my friend Terry Hampton is running, and I wish her well for that. So the point is, you know, I'd like to become a citizen. I've been commanded by the Pneumati Agio, or the Holy Spirit, as you may know them, to give this away, and so I'm putting the stewardship of this business in the hands of my church, which is Lifeline, run by Steve Russell, who's an amazing guy. And I say that because everyone at my church is a volunteer. You know, no one gets paid for their work there. And we seem to be a ministry that is trying to reach, you know, the outsiders in town. You know, the people from outside the town, the foster kids, you know, the disenfranchised, and those are the people that I believe that Jesus calls us to reach out to and to care for. And you know, I mean, that's how it is. So you know, it costs us 25 grand a year to run the church, and I wholeheartedly believe in it, and I've been teaching there for just over a year now. So you know, in the next 2 years of your presidency, there's, you know, they call it a lame duck presidency, but I know that there are ways that you can actually improve this economy just by the authority or the authority of the position that you hold. And certainly, you know, in the future as well, I've always felt that it's my destiny to travel the world and not only spread the gospel, but also to change the, you know, modern economics as we know it, because modern economics is based on some principles that just are logical in the abstract, but not relevant in the realities of, you know, humans getting involved, right? And I think, you know, the guys at Freakonomics do a good job at explaining that, and I know, and so I think this mechanism can help. You know, it can't be used for every single type of product or service. You know, certainly ones that have, you know, very technical, or you know, have large product liability complications to them. But you know, for your average person trying to start a basic sort of business, or you know, they've already made a product, it could be very useful, and I think it could encourage your regular consumer, who's sort of excluded from Wall Street, to share in some of that wealth generation, rather than, you know, what has happened traditionally in the past, you know, history of empires, is that, you know, once the people recognize that all the wealth is going to just the 1%, you know, they start a physical revolution, and you know, that results in chaos. And what I'm proposing is something which shares the wealth before it's created, so that the people involved, the people that do the hard work, the people that, you know, buy the product first, actually get to share it in that wealth that is eventually generated. Now, having said that, you know, there are some great people here in West Plains who I've talked to over the years who kind of get it, but you know, I'm one of those people that has a hard time really explaining the full, you know, simplicity and beauty of the mechanism, and that's partly, you know, where I could use your gift with words to, and your charisma to to help advertise that. You know, personally, I would love to work for you. I don't really need much money. I'd be happy with sort of 25 grand a year to, just to oversee these, the running of and the uptake of this venture, but I cannot put it in the hands of someone that I don't trust, and so this is why I'm sending you this, public message, and hopefully you have time to hear it and get in contact. So with that, I'll say God bless, and I wish you all, health and happiness to you and your family, and I don't think there's anything else I need to say. So, thank you.